Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Look at this. We're in here.
I know. I've got to there we go. Perfect. Perfect. Um, I want to ask you a question before we start.
Okay.
Where does your Instagram name come from?
Hi, Keanu. I was sitting in my driveway in the car
Mhm.
with my girlfriend at the time, and we were going to an opening, and she
Mhm.
or something along those lines, and she said, "It's culture, bitch." So I give all credit where credit is due to Grace, and yeah, I was like, that's my Instagram name. So it's been Culture
Love that.
Bitch for, I don't know, 5 years or so. And it was my Finsta for a long
Mhm.
time when I was just involved in fashion. And, I could shit post and, and it's turned into the real
Exactly.
thing. So,
Yeah. Cool. I know. I like it's so funny because I always like call artists by their Instagram name. So I'm like, this is Culture Bitch. And I'm like, wait, this is Preston. Is that weird?
you know
But
what? It's a common occurrence. I will
I
take
know.
it. It's
It's a
how I
good
met
one.
Yeah, it's how I met Mark Flood. It's how I've
Hmm.
met a number of collectors. It's just like, the power of the internet.
Yep,
So,
exactly, exactly. Love that. So, thank you for joining myself this evening. Um, I'm going to give a little introduction about you, unless you want to give an introduction about yourself. It's up to, I'll do it. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Here I go. So, Preston Douglas explores the relationship between painting, fashion, performance, and installation. He began his career as an artist working with fashion as his primary medium and moved to painting shortly thereafter. Preston realized his interest was in the 2D image of these clothing-based projects rather than the functionality of the garments themselves, and painting seemed to be the perfect medium through which to solely focus on image making. Preston applies his knowledge of and personal history with fashion fabrics and printing techniques to the context of painting. He examines the inherent sculptural qualities of painting and challenges the notion that painters be relegated to using two fabrics, canvas and linen, and two tools, a brush and paint.
voila.
Ta-da! Exactly.
Also, we're kind of like twins right now with our.
I know. I know. It's like the little blonde, the little, yeah, love that. So you are a part of our current show, Threshold, which opened I think last week. Yeah, last week. Time is flying. And this current show is a group exhibition, and it responds to what the internet has termed liminal spaces. So, for those who are not familiar with the term, as I was not so familiar with it before the show, in architecture, such environments are defined as the physical spaces between one destination and the next. They are the transitional and not usually meant for humanity to exist within for long. So they often feel like a relic of the past, that are sometimes a little bit haunting, and can invoke a sense of nostalgia, stress, or fear. So I guess in my head, when I think of liminal spaces, I think of sleep paralysis, but I know that it can be interpreted in so many different ways. Um, so I guess, curious to hear your interpretation of the show and how, and I know we kind of worked together to choose the works, but how we kind of landed on looking for nothingness and looking for my skewed reflection in you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we ended up with both paintings having titles that begin with
Yeah.
looking. I didn't even realize that until y'all sent me a couple questions
Mm-hmm.
to think over before this interview, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, like that is a little destiny moment right there,
Mm-hmm.
a God shot, as some might say, and I kind of live for moments like that, and they're from two seemingly disparate bodies of work that I
Sure.
make. One is, the black and white work is one of my See Through Me paintings,
Mm-hmm.
which are what I say I'm most known for, the black and white
Mm-hmm.
fabric works. That one is on chiffon. Those begin with works on paper that I distort in a scanner, and then they get digitally collaged on an iPad, satiating
Mm-hmm.
my need to collage with my
Yes.
hands, and then reprinted out, sewn together, stretched, all these things. That one in particular is one of the only two paintings that have the custom zippers that say "Hope
Mm-hmm.
is
I
alive."
love those.
And that was just a phrase that came to me just
Mm-hmm.
during COVID. So that zipper work in particular has been in the works for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And looking for my skewed reflection in you is from this series of attachment paintings. I call them attachment paintings because the fabric is attached to the canvas in some way, and very much not attached in other ways.
Right.
And there's this psychological um, uh, system called attachment theory, and I had this show, Codependency, a few weeks ago called Attachment Theory, and it's from that body of work. Yeah.
Cool. So I know that within your practice, the stretcher body is a super important part of your work. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process of like draping and stretching, and how the stretcher bar is just as important as the fabric itself?
Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Dee.
I come from fashion. I started in fashion almost 10 years ago, which is crazy to think. And for me, the stretcher bar, it is body.
Right.
The body is a stretcher bar. I always painted my stretcher bar silver. I've always addressed the inherent sculptural nature of a painting. I used Trimar when Mark Flood let me paint in one of his studios. He gave me a bunch of Trimars. And I fell in love with those aluminum stretcher bars, and now I live one stop away. I just went yesterday to pick up a stretcher bar for a client. It's like 30 minutes door to door. It's like crazy how everything has just kind of come full circle. And I've recently started customizing the stretcher bars, but to me, like, it's such a intimate experience to drape over a model standing in front of me, but sometimes like I don't want their energy coming into whatever I'm creating. And so
that makes sense.
I can have the stretcher bar there, and it doesn't bring its own energy into this system, and it's a much more private experience. I can come to it, I can leave it, and there is something beautiful about having a human standing in front of me, but sometimes I just need to have that one-on-nothing relationship.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you consider, I don't know if this is a silly question, but like I know you just mentioned that like there's the sculptural elements to your paintings. Like, do you consider your paintings like sculptural or like site specific or like anything in that capacity, like beyond just like a painting, if that makes sense?
So the works, I've always kind of made installation based wall works, and most of them oftentimes incorporate a stretcher, but some recent works that I've been making have no stretcher bar. They're just fabric literally tacked to or stapled to the wall, which would be site specific.
Right.
And figuring out ways to be able to transport them and sell them. But yeah, some of the paintings do have the site specific installation based property, usually with the fabric, how it attaches to the wall. And hi, Matt. And so I think about that a lot. I don't like being relegated to a square or typical stretcher bar limits. I want to go beyond that because that's where I started from.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really great segue. Thank you. Tell everyone watching how you kind of started and what that like transition from fashion to, I guess they're both forms of fine art, but like more painting. How did that, happen?
So I was an artist all along. It just took me a few years to realize it. I was in love with sneakers growing up and rap. I worked in the rap industry in Houston. I styled rappers. That was kind of my upbringing. Got into fashion through that, and then through fashion got into luxury fashion. And I was like, you know what, I can do this my own, better. And so I had my own menswear company for about 5-6 years under my name. Each collection got more and more, art project-y. I love the performance aspects of fashion. Fashion shows inherently a performance piece. You're involving human bodies, and it's like, time-based, and, you can't, take a fashion show and put it on your wall per se.
Right.
Although I've tried, and I continue to try. But, Raf Simons and Sterling, one day, Raf Simons and Sterling Ruby's collaborations really inspired me. And I wanted to be that person, in those two people in one body,
Right.
And so moving to New York really satiated that and like
Mm-hmm.
solidified that. You know, my painting studio became my design studio also, and I was forced for them to kind of become one. And COVID was really the straw that broke the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fully exited the fashion world. And the entire time, I mean, I met with Vogue, I met with all these
Mm-hmm.
people, and they were like, "You are an artist. You are not a fashion designer." And I was like, "Please accept me and love me. I'm a fashion designer." And they were right, you know. And you know, the beautiful thing about being an artist and showing in galleries
Mm-hmm.
is that, you know, it's an umbrella, right? I can take
Right.
these seemingly disparate parts of my interests, my
Mm-hmm.
music, my fashion, clothes, garments, painting, performance, and
Mm-hmm.
incorporate them all into a singular exhibition or singular works,
Right.
and go from there.
Very well said. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Tell me a little bit more about how your practice has kind of evolved and changed since you started painting.
Yeah, so the same girl who came up with Culture Bitch, I'll give credit
Grace.
where credit is due
Grace.
again. She was a painter, and
Okay.
we started going to exhibitions and
Mm-hmm.
openings, and you know, I'd been to museums, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really ever have a community in fashion. You know, fashion
Yeah,
is quite surface level in many
it
ways.
is.
Inherently, it goes in and out of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And stumbling across painting and painting history and art
Mm-hmm.
history, the rabbit hole was so much deeper and so much
Yes.
wider. And for me, I felt like I scratched the itch of the
Mm-hmm.
fashion rabbit hole, and I'd learned what I needed to learn. And then this idea of, you know, the art world came into play, and it was like, wow, like I can dig into this for
Mm-hmm.
forever. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So it kind of happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Usually painters will go into making clothes or fashion,
Right.
you know,
Like
things.
the other way around, exactly.
Exactly. So to me, you know, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Mark. He said, you know, make work that should disqualify you as being an artist. And I tell young artists that all the time. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
think about what should disqualify you as being an artist and make work about that, or make
Mm-hmm.
work through that. And
Sure.
you know, at first I was like, what the heck does that
You're
mean?
like,
You
what does this
know?
even mean? Yes.
But that is my identity, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so the further I've explored that, and like I've been able to like establish my voice, which is
Mm-hmm.
strange for a 27-year-old. You know, I'm young, I'm a young
Yeah.
artist. It's more commonplace now to be in your 20s and showing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, 40 years ago, your first solo show would be when you're 50, maybe.
Yeah. Or like dead.
They like them dead. They're
I
easier,
know, right?
harder to do an Instagram live with if they're
That's
deceased. But
for sure. That's for sure. I mean, there's such an important thing about finding your voice as an artist in like whatever medium that you do, and then feeling like confident to roll with that and keep doing that is so important.
yeah, and I'm still finding it. You know, I am
Yeah, of
young. I
course.
recognize that, but like I feel I'm very confident in the work. I'm in a good
Hmm.
place. Like I believe in the work. I know it's
Yeah,
great, and yeah, it's a good place to be for sure.
yeah. Love that. That's great. I know when I came to your studio, you spoke a little bit more about your new body of work and that you're adding purple in and things like that. Do you want to tell everyone about some of the new concepts and ideas that you're exploring right now?
Yeah, you know, purple has always been my color when it comes to
Yeah.
painting. Historically, purple has been a tough color for painters to address. I don't come
Hmm.
from a painting background per se,
Hmm.
so it never really mm, intimidated me.
Hmm.
Um, Purple, you know, is associated with the color of royalty, but it's also
Hmm.
the color of forgiveness. It's the color of the crown chakra. Um, I wore my little purple bandana for
I
y'all
know.
today, you
Love
know, a
it.
little hit of, and it's funny you asked me this question, and
Hmm.
I'm wearing this purple now because I'm coming out of it and I'm moving into red, which is the root chakra.
Okay.
Um, and when my fashion career, you know, each collection was designated, delineated,
Hmm.
inspired by particular colors. Color
Hmm.
has so much meaning.
It
Um,
does.
that's why I use color. That's why I'm attracted to color. That is my
Hmm.
color theory. And you know, my color theory really comes from sneakers.
Hmm.
But I digress. You know, purple for me is the color of uh, intimacy. It's the
Hmm.
color of love.
Mm-hmm.
It is the color of forgiveness. It's the color of intensity,
Mm-hmm.
of depth. Um, and there's like this intense sadness to how I use purple.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sense of loneliness. The first purple paintings I made recently were called the withdrawal paintings
Mm-hmm.
after a breakup. And yeah, I really just withdrew into myself
Mm-hmm.
and tried to learn how to love and be with myself. And that's where those paintings came from. And then the attachment paintings, which is
Mm-hmm.
looking for my skewed reflection, you, one of the
Right.
paintings we have in this group exhibition. Those are right after the withdrawal painting,
Okay.
and they're a bit lighter, both in color and both in surface, but
Mm-hmm.
there's an equal amount of intensity to
Yeah.
them. It's a bit less dark,
Mm-hmm.
a bit more lighthearted, but complicated. The surfaces are complicated. They're really hard
Yeah.
to digest in
Mm-hmm.
a two-dimensional image,
Mm-hmm.
or online. And every time I have someone come visit the studio, whether it's the see-through me paintings and the transparency,
Right.
or the three-dimensionality of the withdrawal or the attachment paintings,
Mm-hmm.
every time the person leaves, they're like, I'm so glad I came to see these in person.
Yeah.
Photos do not do them justice. So,
Absolutely. I mean, photos never do work justice. There's nothing better than like seeing a work. And with your work, I like when I was at your studio, I loved like when you came at different angles, you're like having such a different experience with the piece itself. And I think, nothing beats that. So what is
yes.
Danielle asking?
Let's not
Favorite?
read it because I didn't pay attention to what was going on there, Danielle. I'm sorry.
Favorite. Oh, Paris Fashion Week collections. I don't know anything about that. Are you following all that?
Honestly, like I'll look at things like 2 weeks later, like just on my
Hmm.
Instagram Explore page.
Yeah.
I used to be relentless about looking at all the
Hmm.
street style
It's
photos,
exhausting, some of that, though.
and that was a big reason I kind of like
Hmm.
lost interest in fashion. Is like
Sure.
every 6 months, like every single brand released something new, and I'm like
Hmm.
so overwhelmed by it, and it seemed like
Yeah.
it was such on a timeline. And designers have broken out of that a bit more
Hmm.
recently and doing things on their own schedule, but yeah, so many fashion weeks.
Yes, I know. I saw there was like the Gucci show with the twins, and then there was it Balenciaga with like mud all over the floor or something. And I'm like,
Yes.
this is a little too edgy, and like, and then all these girls falling in their heels, and I'm like, it's a funny industry.
The first fashion week where you felt inspired. Oh no. I guess that's a
Danielle,
good thing.
yeah, that is a good thing.
And I do see myself, when I am working with,
Hmm.
larger galleries with bigger
Hmm.
budgets, I am going to recreate my own versions of what a fashion
Yeah,
show means, and it
love
won't
that.
necessarily be, models walking down some
Hmm.
sort of stage with a live audience, but, I will continue to explore that and reinterpret that.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
I love the performative aspect. I
Hmm.
love the set design. I love it
Yeah,
all. And so I see myself doing that, in many
yeah,
different
absolutely.
ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that. I'm going to transition a little bit since you grew up in Texas. I am curious to know if growing up in the South has influenced you and your practice.
Yeah, definitely. I almost wore my cowboy hat,
I know. I
but
love that.
it's hard to wear it with this little headrest going on.
I
So
know. And then like the lighting might not do the right thing. You
exactly,
never know.
exactly. I didn't really. I moved to New York when I was, I guess, 24, 25.
Hmm.
I think 24. And I hadn't really ever lived anywhere else. I lived in
Right.
Dallas for a very brief stint. And so getting out of there, being comfortable is like, the enemy of change and
Yeah.
progress, right? And so like moving to New York is like the most uncomfortable thing.
Hmm.
Uh, and through that uncomfortability, so much progress was made.
Oh,
You know, I
yeah.
don't, I never felt like a real Southerner. Like when I was there, I
Hmm.
felt like I didn't fit in. And
Sure.
now, since moving to New York, I never listened to country music when I lived in Houston. I never had cowboy boots. I was never going to wear a hat. I
Hmm.
wore Balenciaga,
Yeah.
Balmain, Chris Von Osh, Louboutin. Like I wore all these. I've always been punk rock, Like I
Right.
don't want to do what you're doing. If everyone is doing that, I'm
You're
not
like
doing that.
anti.
Everyone wore
Yeah.
Asics and Nike
Hmm.
socks and gym shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what do I wear? I wear Asics.
Basics.
I wear Under Armour socks, not Nike socks.
Yeah,
Gym
different.
shorts. I
Uh-huh.
wear a cowboy hat. I have a vintage boot dealer now,
Oh, that's
Lucchese.
great.
And I never listened to country music until COVID, really. And
Mm-hmm.
this sense of nostalgia is really
Mm-hmm.
what drew me in.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I watched Ken Burns' country music
Mm-hmm.
documentary, and country music was founded upon like this false sense of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, nostalgia is like the biggest emotional high I can
Yes.
get through memory. Um, and so that's kind of my transition into like embracing my
Mm-hmm.
Texan heritage, which has been unique and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to what should disqualify you as being an artist or me as being an artist, and there's a bit of that in there.
Mm-hmm.
However, now it's like much more popular fashion culture here in Brooklyn to like embrace like this cowboy aesthetic. So I'm
Yes.
kind of like distancing myself slightly from it.
You're like
So
too close, gotta get
I
away.
know it's a little too close. Bushwick
I
Bret
know.
Michaels is no longer
I
happy.
know, I know. I love that. It's so funny. Growing up, my dad wore cowboy boots and a flannel every single day. And he has like the most epic collection of cowboy boots. And I'm like, I need to maybe revisit these for myself. They're so cool. There's like blue ones. And
Let's go.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Midwest, South, like similar country music.
Well, if they don't fit, I'm a size 10.
But I'll have to look at what size they are. We'll navigate. I don't know. He's a tiny man with tiny feet. So, anywho, tell us what a typical day in your studio looks like. Are you like someone who follows a routine? Kind of depends on the day.
Yeah, so I typically wake up like in between 7 and 8. I'm most creative at night or
Okay.
right in the morning. What's up, Anders? Good to see you, buddy. Um, I feel most connected to who I am
Mm-hmm.
and my emotion and the spiritual channel of which I like to work or aim to work
Mm-hmm.
right when I wake up. Before
Okay.
I eat, I'll brush my teeth, maybe put on some
Good.
music, and then if it's the day to create, like this morning, I had an amazing like little 2-hour work session where I finished up some
Mm-hmm.
small works,
Nice.
and like days like that are just like incredible,
Mm-hmm.
really feeling my feelings.
Feels good. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and so after that, typically make breakfast, go to the gym. I do yoga. I do a lot of not fun things,
Mm-hmm.
about being an artist.
Yeah.
Coming from fashion, like, it's like 90% of the things you get to do are not creative. It's that
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like
10%.
the administration side of things.
Totally. It's not, it's more like 20/80 sometimes.
Yeah,
It just depends really. But, that other percentage makes the 20% worth it.
exactly.
Um, and there's part of me that it really does enjoy the administrative
Mm-hmm.
stuff. If I'm not feeling
Yeah.
creative, like, I get to do what I want to do.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I play guitar in front of, I kind of like
Mm-hmm.
sing to like people sing to their plants. Like I kind of sing to my
Sing to your
paintings.
paintings. Love that.
And like, if I'm really stuck on something, I'll just pull out my guitar and just like play guitar in front of the painting. And then the answer will come or it won't
Mm-hmm.
come, and I'll move on. Um, yeah, I'm very active in recovery. So I do a lot of like 12-step meetings
Nice.
and helping other alcoholics and stuff, which is a really big part of my life. And it takes me outside of the
Mm-hmm.
self-centered thing that
Yeah,
being an artist like inherently entails. It's a
definitely.
lonely life, but it's me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sometimes I play video games. I haven't really wanted to lately, but I draw a lot
Mm-hmm.
of inspiration from that. And it's like kind of like my complete escape from
Yeah,
the
definitely.
fashion and art world.
Yeah. Disassociating.
And I cook a lot. That's like
Yeah.
the majority of my life.
Yeah.
I
What's
watch
your
YouTube videos.
love it? Love it. Do you have a go-to dish?
Mm. My best friend Mike would say hot dogs, which
Oh,
is
that's great.
so disrespectful. But honestly, it's like chicken and rice,
Easy,
and
healthy.
like potatoes and steak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like solid, whole meals.
Full bodybuilder, just like
Yes.
meal prep.
Yes,
Yeah, that's my
exactly.
lifestyle.
Like chicken, broccoli, rice, and like that's
Yeah, just
it.
trying to get these gains.
Exactly.
If a collector or gallery, they don't want to pay you. You got to be your own security in the art world
Yep,
sometimes.
and you have to be your own art handler sometimes too. So love that. Let's do some fun ones since we're running out of
Oh, these
time
weren't
here.
fun? None
No,
of these
I
were
mean
fun,
like
Marley?
I'm
Okay, I see.
having
No,
a
I'm kidding.
blast, but I mean like not art related so much. Um, I guess this one's sort of art related, but I like this question. What is the best compliment that someone can give you about your work?
Hmm. Yeah, I really enjoy it when they like understand the relationship between like the fashion
Mm-hmm.
uh, perspective and the sculptural
Mm-hmm.
like angle on the works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of times, like I enjoy hearing someone's thoughts on a work who's like actually like looked at the work and like
Mm-hmm.
experienced it and like has their own experience with it, and then they tell me about it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like totally not at all what I
You thought it.
intended for it
Yeah,
to be. Um, I enjoy that almost as much as I enjoy like when someone like really gets exactly what it's about.
yeah, absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, just I don't know. It's hard to experience art in galleries for me
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I think about like how in the future I will limit uh, the number of people who are allowed in the gallery at a particular time. Like
Mm-hmm.
no art lifeguards. Like I want the experience of like experiencing art to be better.
Mm-hmm. I
So
agree. I like that.
for me, like I got into painting in particular because I had all these spiritual experiences
Mm-hmm.
with painting exhibitions when I was the
Mm-hmm.
only person in the gallery. A little easier to do in Houston than up here. But like at the Twombly Museum, the only
Mm-hmm.
freestanding side Twombly museum in the world, it's part of the Minot collection in
Mm-hmm.
Houston. Like, and thinking about that and like how I can recreate those
Mm-hmm.
experiences in gallery and eventually
Sure.
museum settings.
Cool. Cool. This question I added in. What are your thoughts on like the whole Bushwick art scene? Curious your perspective as like an artist in that
Well, I
area.
live in East Williamsburg now, Marley, so I can't answer
Is
this question.
it? Where's the
Technically,
border? Where's the border?
we're
I'm
on
in
it.
East Williamsburg.
Yeah, this is technically East Williamsburg. We pay East Williamsburg prices. If I was a
Really?
block over, yeah, yeah, yeah. I live
It's
deeper in
so
Bushwick,
close.
right on the edge of Ridgewood, like right before this.
Mhm.
I don't know, like a lot of my friends' studios are over
Mhm.
here. When I was an art handler, when I first moved to New York, I worked literally right over here, and
Yeah.
I lived on 110th and Broadway in
Okay.
Manhattan for my first. So it was like a whole different world, and
Different. Totally different.
it's been such an amazing like full circle moment to
Mhm.
like live right next to where I used to work as an art
Mhm.
handler and like be a full-time artist doing this
Yeah, it's
interview,
awesome.
being in your exhibition, other exhibitions,
Yeah,
etc.
it's
Um,
exciting.
so yeah, Bushwick, it's cool, but kind of like going back to what I mentioned, like when I was from Texas, I never
Mhm.
felt like I was a Texan. I
Mhm.
kind of feel the same way. Like I just have this like eternal sense of other. It's like I don't really fit in totally, but
Mhm.
that's just what it
Yeah.
is.
I
So
wonder. I feel like people. I don't know. Do you feel like that for your whole life? I don't know.
we shall see.
We shall see. I don't know. Let's do. I like this one. If you could give yourself, your younger self, a piece of advice, what would it be?
Hmm. I mean, how young are we talking? I mean, if I was like giving,
Like 21.
okay, 21.
Yeah, I guess you're like not that old, so
Yeah.
younger-ish.
Don't limit myself to like
Hmm.
what my output has to be. I never really felt that way totally when I got
Hmm.
sober when I was 19. I'm 27 now.
Wow.
Um, and when I first got sober, I was a rapper. Like that was what
Really?
I was doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will. Um, we've got some Will Shop pieces on right
Oh,
now.
cool.
Will is from Houston also. He's a great,
Nice.
great jeweler.
Hi, Will.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like for me, like I always had this like sense of shame about being like a jack of all trades and a master
Mhm.
of none. And for me, like being an artist, like this, I watched some Louisiana Channel interview. I watched every, when I lived in Houston, I watched every single Jeff Koons interview. I watched every single artist I
Mm-hmm.
looked up to's interview. I watched every single Art 21, Louisiana Channel,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
every video on just to digest it
Mm-hmm.
and get it. Um, and someone in there said, like, as an artist, like I can take all these seemingly disparate interests in my life and put them into one cohesive thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I knew that when I was younger, because I had this sense of shame about being interested in
Sure.
photography
Mm-hmm.
and being interested in, making music and then
Mm-hmm.
like making clothes and then, okay, I want to paint a little bit. It's like, it's okay to do. And I'm
Yeah,
reconnecting with that.
absolutely.
Like, I'm reconnecting with
Yeah.
that now. I'm making music again. Like, and it's all affecting the visual
Mm-hmm.
practice and like, it will eventually affect like how I exhibit and display the work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
feel like when you grow up, you're told like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to study in college? Like you're taught to like pick one thing, and like there should be more options and more diversity in what you can do. So I like that. That's a good piece of advice. Love that. Where can people see your work? What do you have upcoming?
Yeah, so I'm in my first show in Los Angeles. I'm in a group show at Bozo
Sweet.
Mag with Danny Bowman, who runs the gallery. He's incredible.
Cool.
He just opened his new space. That opens up on the 15th, which is this weekend. So I have a red painting in that, a red see-through me
Cool.
painting that has never been seen. And yeah, I made it like almost a year ago. Well, it started a
Mm-hmm.
year ago. Uh, and so, yeah, I'm excited to be in that. I have some other things that are in the works that I can't
Cool.
really talk about right
Yeah, of
now,
course.
but yeah, like I like having people over to the studio. This is kind of like my little gallery in a way.
Yeah.
And then my best friend lives right next door to me, and we have some works up in his apartment.
Oh
So
yeah, you had that. Was that a week or two ago?
yeah. So that was
Mm-hmm.
codependency,
Yeah.
and yeah. So there's just a lot of really exciting things coming up.
Good.
I'm
Love that.
getting ready to release a music video that I've been working on for the
Okay,
past like
cool.
2 weeks. Like, and it's like getting back in touch with like my performance art,
Hmm.
my love for performance art. Like I had my producer, like I sung the lyrics of the song while I held a knife
Hmm.
up next to my throat last night, so it was a
Oh,
little
that's
dark.
scary.
Uh, I'm a very happy-go-lucky, like
Hmm.
happy, joyous, and free person, but like there is a darkness to the work. Preston means
Cool.
priest-like, Douglas means of a dark stream,
Hmm.
and so getting more in touch with like that side
Hmm.
of me,
Sure.
which are what the red paintings are about,
Hmm.
and this song is called Red, and performance. I like performance artwork that is dark, kind of
Cool.
like that Balenciaga thing.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Cool. I'm
yeah,
excited to follow and see all of these things. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing yourself and your practice with everyone. And I will definitely have to stop by your studio again soon, hopefully with Danielle. So,
yes, you're always
yes.
welcome, and thank you for
Cool.
inviting me to participate
Yeah.
in this show. It's an awesome little exhibition, and enjoyed chatting with you, Marley.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Preston. Have a good night.
Awesome.
All right. See ya.